Cindy Getz, Gwelx, Gwelx. Welcome to Gwelx webinar workshop. We're here today to ask some very important questions to the knowledgeable group, panel of experts, and this is day 3 of 3, and again, welcome. We'll get into some introductions after we hear welcome and explanation of today from Loretta.
Thank you, Jimmy. Namig utisund ajaxlaset ama juxetan simgiget sigidem hanach ajaxinissa man beksen Jukachomten dat I was say toch alliger dan really good after will it the years you will it the years how in the OS I just want to thank everybody who's here today. Just a brief explanation of the reason why we're doing this. We were in hopes to for our youth and those interested with our Gwelx. We will have the recording, Raven's here recording, Jackie Jr. is here with the audio recording, and I'm just really thankful that you're all here, all our experts of our Gwelx and those that can join us online. Very much appreciated. Like I said, it's all recorded and then eventually it will be documented. The questions that Jimmy will have for our panelists, and Jimmy will get more into that once I'm done. But the purpose of this is, the main purpose is for our Gitsan knowledge, our Gwelx. It's for our youth and those who are eager to learn. Some questions will be repetitive, but that's for a really good reason, because I find it always helps, like if I might have missed it on one question, and then I might be able to learn more about it in another question. So just so it'll stay up here for our youth and all of us who are eager to learn. Ajaxinissa simgiget habit.
Thanks, Loretta. So, really quick, my name's Jimmy Morgan. I'm from Kitwanga, house of Sagamiga. I want to thank you again for being here tonight. It's an honor to be standing here and just to be able to ask you guys questions that are very, very important to us and our nation as a whole. So I would like to do a round of introductions before we get fully started, and I think we'll start with my direct left here. He looks really ready to talk.
So you get to see the man who watches. Small Wahalla, I the Roddy Sandberg and so I have my chief Wahalla Hyde would lead it. Thank you.
أنا يخشى سنديات تنسيق معنا كوكسين سمولي كوكسين دي Larry Weinson discussed Gizgita. Thank you.
Amerika, simulate the mana and voltage. We take sweat and carry those from Schwab, number 12. Keep your camera, sandwich wet mistakes. Doris, listen.
Amerika simulate kan mana small simulate and small simulate la peste. I dag sat vi som nachtlag. Ja, finished one colloquial said when said fathers. Calvin items would be from Sure. Thank you.
Mot dessa har varit blivit during the series let's how I think sure again from servitude.
Maybe you can hear from our online panelists. Glenn?
Amerika simulate kan mana det är som så som sektorn man så som de har så vinner skulle want Joxeton så som gedigår vad så laxen planerat från antagningset från initiate om audio base när det och smarta från coherence det här är lätt på base angett coherence i cohet medorier was polacem under distant solaxa dem medorier involved in solaxen galimxet ois is Amerika kan Mariti Kahiti Achbo Kitaniel and Holly Capital some said Harvard makes Oyam T Hall with them selection columns of voices.
And quickly do some housekeeping. Also, I forgot to mention my good name is Kick, which is squirrel. I want to also apologize. I'm still learning how to fully MC. I get a little bit flustered when there's this many bosses in one room. So, yeah, bear with me. So a little bit of housekeeping. There's a fire exit to the back of us right here. Main exits to the other side, and the washrooms down the hall. And online, if you don't feel like being in the spotlight, but you want to answer, feel free to answer in the chat box, and we'll make sure to read out any comments or answers to the questions. And yeah, we're here to have a great conversation, and we'll treat it as so. If the first couple of people answered the question really, really well, maybe have a little bit to add on to it, you're totally welcome. But if not, maybe we'll move on and add on later because some of the questions are a little bit similar. So, all right, let's get right into it. We're gonna go and look at question 1. We might actually pick on Gary for this first question, and we'll go from there. But the question is, what are some of the early teachings you can remember before you were brought to the feast hall? So even before you were brought to the feast hall, what do you remember being taught and told before you even got there? Gary?
When I first started going to the feast, my parents always sat me down to talk about what goes on in the feast. And back then, there wasn't any tables, just chairs and paper on the floor. And when we get in the hall, we were told to sit behind or underneath the chair. No noise, no laughter. And we couldn't even go to the washroom until everybody was finished talking. And, that's the most important thing is to be quiet in the feast hall. There wasn't you weren't allowed to talk, you weren't allowed to laugh, because it's either it's a morning feast or they always had a guy with a stick walking from table to table, and he doesn't bang on the floor. He hits the table when somebody talks too loud, laughs. You have to be very, very respectful to the hostess. My parents always tell me, when somebody serves you food, your bowl of soup is empty, you cannot say no to anybody. Once it's empty, they don't ask, they're not supposed to ask if you want more soup. They just grab it, refill it again. My dad usually tells me to watch, listen, and learn what the hostess does, their names. It's, my parents were, well recognized everything that they do in the feast hall. And before we even go to the feast hall, my parents used to gather up gifts to help out the hostess, the other clan. They don't just grab their soup bowl or anything. My mom gathers up gifts for the family, gives it to them. Back then they used to help each other's. What you call it, society involved. All the clans and the villages help each other. That way it'll be easier for the family to, back then there weren't many gifts. You usually use a deer skin, moose skin, and some little bit of dry roots, and if a guy, say like my dad, has an extra gun, they'll give it as a gift, or they're hunting. And, there's a lot of things that we need to teach our younger generations of what really goes on in the feast hall. I was a little boy when I first went to the East, and I never stopped. Mom always made me go, and we weren't allowed to use English in the feast hall. We always use our own language. I myself don't like using English for benefit of people that don't know or that are watching. Our language is most important within the people. That way our generation behind us can learn our own language. Especially our songs. Once they do the welcome song, before the feast starts. And, if you know your song, it's a good way to learn your Somalia through the songs. As I grew up, I was taught where everybody sat. It's our stand, streets, up to Blue, Canada. Took me a while to remember where everybody sits, especially their chief names and matriarchs. Doesn't stop there. There's always a change of a chief name or a matriarch when somebody passes on the name. Maybe one person will hold it for 50 years and passes away. Or heads their names put onto another guy that is successful. That's important. When he walks, the next chief gets a big name. When our parents used to tell me not to reach across when you're serving. And the reason why they tell us that at every feast, just in case somebody's having to shoot you, after they bump, then you have to pay. The whole clan have to pay. When you serve one side. That's what my parents always told me. Nowadays everybody's reaching across now. That they every feast now everybody has to pay. And that's they're in a hurry.
What's the term for having to pay the person that got done? Because I know some people say it's like to clean your clothes kind of thing, right?
Yeah, like the meaning of that.
It'll come out. Sorry,
I think it's when everybody contributes in a peace. Everybody helps. Back then, the doors close once the feast starts. All the doors, nobody's allowed out. And now it's everybody walks in and out. So, you know that once the door is closed, that's it. Or if you're late for the feast and you can't come in. And they always had a guy at the door looking after it. Now, you come in late, you still serving. Another one too I remember is when somebody who's gonna get sick, you still remember that person. You leave food for that person. It is, now we don't do that. Nobody sits at this table. You don't get anything. Especially it's a chief of nature. When they say, oh, my uncle or my auntie's sick, still they walk by that table. You know. They always say, how's the minute? Don't serve too fast. Feast can take as long as they want. Have some tomato, quick reception. You know, feast used to last about 4 o'clock in the morning, sometimes 5. And if they're not done, they go to their next day and restart the feast again. Now everybody does it in 4 hours and they're done. It's like nowadays, it's just like competition. Our feast systems are competition. Who can do the feast the fastest, or how much they brought in, or how much style they put in. Everybody nowadays rush. Back then they took their time, slow, and they made sure everybody eats and gets the same amount of food on the table. Night over your table would be full of jars of mushy meat, everything, fruit. You know, it's amazing. I wish I could turn the clock back in our day. You know, and restart it over again, show our next generation. You know what's it's I'm trying really hard to teach what goes on in the feast. You know, when I was taught growing up, you know, it's just remember where everybody is in each section of the table. Their names, their house names, their small gift. And I'm trying to teach that to the next generation. How to pronounce their names, their house group. You know, some people, some guys say, oh, will, when they come into the feast hall, no to any talk, singing, any talk, action, overall. It's not will, it's any talk. When you first come in, I try to do that to a couple of guys, but they, they're shy. Your first timer, you get really shy of speaking out loud. You gotta be heard in the whole hall when you're calling out a chief name or major. And, sometimes I forget when you're on board with Smoggy, don't point at his table. Walk in Smoggy or sitting on that. Get them to hold your hand when you walk in. Sometimes I forget, sometimes sometimes I have to slow myself down to do these things and teach. But it's I still got lots to bring out to the youths, the next generation. If I can get the whole classroom, it'll be awesome. A whole classroom. Especially when the school can put up mini feast. Inform village chiefs and show the youth how to conduct a feast. Glad I got that started. Teaching them when they have different plans, having a mini feast. Some youths are shy, addicted. They don't know how to use their voice. There's a lot more that happens that I remember in the back in the day. Nobody competed back then. Now we are, which is all wrong to me.
Yeah.
Somebody else.
Thank you very much. You're doing a great job teaching. I'm one of those shy ones that you've been teaching often. I'm getting there. Yeah, it's really important to not make mistakes. That's one of the things that stumbles me and makes me hesitant a little bit, but I'm getting over that slowly. Thank you. Yeah, so anybody in here want to add to that question, which was, what are some of the early teachings you can remember before you were brought to the feast hall? So if you can remember anything when you were first starting to go to the feasts that you can add to Gary's answer, very welcome. Well, we got someone that says iPad there. Oh, Glenn, got something to add?
Yeah, not too much more than Harry. Before growing up when a young child in Gwelx, you think you're Killonga because you were born and raised there, and you just think you're I didn't last Indian. So we had no TV and no radio, no internet, and all those nice things that people have today are some games. It's just, and you really got to meet, and it was all Somalia, all our language. And you really got to meet your uncle, in this case my Uncle Stanley, who would always come and visit us and visit my dad, and my Auntie Nora, and my grandfather would come by and out, and you got to know who they were. Solomon Bryant was another one. Why do those people come and visit? Because they're related to my dad or my mom, or people like Brett Good or Rufus Good, and we began to know that we had clans, and figuring to myself that why am I getting here? I live here. This is who I am. I like watching the KSFC or the Rangers or the Lucky Strikes play. Why am I getting here? And you begin to ask real good questions about why am I here? And you learn about who Brad Pitt was, and he was Nice Aranos, or Rufus, that he was Ahmedef. And oh, why do we have to go to a feast in Gitnia? Why do they have to get ready and pay all these things? And how come Solomon Bryant wasn't for Stanley? Why did Stanley Lecter be those kind of things? And later on that was their responsibility as your dad's father clan to coach you or encourage you, and that later on that you don't belong here, you belong in Upper Dispatch. I was really offended when my grandfather one time I asked him to give me an Indian name. Can you give me an Indian name? He said, no, you go back to where you belong. You didn't have really offended. Those are some things that you learn as a child growing up, and a lot of our children, the youth today, that maybe don't have that. And really, we had no TV or no radio. It wasn't until the late 60s that we had electricity combined in the community, and people are so busy today. And those are some of the teachings at a very early age, and it had you respect what you have in the way of moose and salmon, and don't waste food, and always help other people in need. I remember my grandmother used to always say to me, if you see somebody in need, help them. Open the gate, open the door. An elder comes in and doesn't have a seat, and you're sitting down, you get up and you get out of the way. Those are things that I remember learning from my in Somalia, and how if you don't listen, that they give you the look, or they raise their voice if you don't believe, don't obey. And there's lots about learning about teachings and yotam and the methods, and how to behave and how to conduct yourself in the community, and don't be ashamed to your family, or wandering around and be a little bit too maluk. And if you did, then people like Stanley will come around and give you a little scolding so those are some things, and as Gary was saying, that later, and then how to conduct yourself at a very early age in the feast hall. I wasn't really participating in the feast hall until I got back from boarding home until a latter 70s, and my mom was always quite insistent that, you gotta come. This is how you behave, and don't run around, don't be muzzled, and knowing people and how things are all unfolding. And also really listen, pay attention and really carefully listen. Don't just go up and down to the bathroom, or pay attention even today and go in the feast hall, and the feast in Kimberley, everybody yapping away. My own brothers were yapping away on the important event was happening at the end of the feast. That's, that's the most important part of the feast, is listen carefully to what the different tables were saying, and affirming the work that people are doing and accordance to our yoke. So those are what I want to add. Thanks.
Thanks, Glenn. Very nostalgic hearing all those older names and all those great leaders that were there teaching in the past. Hearing that come up a lot when I ask a lot of these questions, especially the next one. But before I move on to question 2, is there anyone in here that wants to add to that?
I just wanna know if you guys have been teaching anything on cats. That was one of the biggest things back in the olden days, where weren't allowed in the feast hall if you're living with the same person, same clan.
It's very
That's the most important thing that the young people need to learn, is that they cannot live with their own, if they're both frogs or wolves or a skink, whatever they are, they can't be living in the same and going to the feast at the same time. You can't hold hands when you go to the feast. Back in the olden days, they used to ban them from the reserve if they were hats or Kanajit is another one that they didn't allow back in the olden days, where our young people should be learning that stuff, right? Because it is really important, because I was one of those guys that my parents were old frogs, and when Mom had to go to the feast, Dad would stay home. If Dad had to go to a feast, Mom would have to stay home. And we weren't allowed to go to the feast. I was 12 years old when I first went into the feast hall. That's when they gave me the name Khalid Busatters, this young chief to Gwelx. And I held that name for a long time till my uncle left. Then they gave me Gwelx after that. And the reason it was so hard, because our parents were both frogs. My mom was from Kitchigukla and my dad was from Yao. He was from the house of Yohan, my dad. So I think it's very important that the younger kids should know that it's not allowed. Even today, it's not allowed to do that. If we had to banish some people out of our communities would be empty, because there's so much of that kissing cousins that are happening. It shouldn't be allowed, and it's up to the parents to let their kids know, but some of the parents are doing it and the kids are saying, you guys are doing it, why can't we? something that has to break. It's gotta come from somebody and say, you can't do that. It's not allowed in the Kitsan Nation to do that, because back in the day, they used to be banished from the community that they came from because they were either bats or nodes. Is when we sleeping with the same type, and that wasn't allowed back in the day too. I just figured I'd throw that out, so maybe you got it on the paper somewhere, but I can't see to read what's on the paper because I don't have glasses that are made for my eyes right now.
Not a problem at all. You're 100% correct. It's something that needs to be talked about a lot more. People seem to hear it, but they're not listening. It is a question that's been added to our list, and it's number 13. And we're definitely going to tackle that even more moving forward. There's an addition or a question,
Glenn has his hand up.
Glenn?
Yeah, I want to build on what Gwelx was saying about facts. You know, when we were young, we were always told about facts don't intermarry and then encouraged to strengthen up your lahip and marry into gitnia. My grandmother was very firm in those things, and she always said that don't Aussie pass. And then when I look at some things today in some of the feast halls where there's enormous amount of disputes that are brought in more recent times of serious problems that occur there and delay things, and you know, and just to adopt people and to see that play out in the feast hall and delay business, and sometimes the RCMP are called in our feast halls to deal with these situations. And what Roddy is saying, what Allah is saying, it's a really serious problem that we need to really begin to, you know, have a conversation about ourselves amongst the geeks and about our youth, and upholding and affirming, and because if we don't do it, it's just going to go down the wrong path. So I just want to add to that. Thanks.
Thank you, Glenn. Definitely cats would be something that you would hear from your parents or your grandparents before you would even get to the feast hall. So that's 2 questions in one for sure. I welcome anyone here to add to both of those topics, something else you heard before you went to the feast hall, or to add on to cats. Yep.
Morgen schok was niet zo alleen dit net oosten met wachten hier. Je mensen moet oosten. Kort lag het zep is ik ook gewoon niet mensen. Is er wel je de lees en rechts verbinden en die van acht en ze hebben we zeggen ze 1979 February when Finland was Medics law. Schago was clear that was Medics. Nee, gewoon om de raad was. We kunnen zien, nee, Schago was goed. De man achter zit ik zit weg. Je ziet er wel heel goed. Je blijft het nog, de moest zelf willen. Is dat schrijven. Nee, die amsgeld, jene. Helemaal, ik moet goed de diep. Ik ga die hoog gezien. Ik zeg goed, het is een skiers, jene. Met de water. In het jaar na de goede geld. Dat is wat is gezien. Nee, dit nog dit een zomer, zo het is, zo moet blijven. Kan ik gewoon niet geschetst, als je wacht over zijn weg, zo moet blijven. Dus net die nacht, die gaat. Ik nog niet, nog niet gestemd dit. Houden ze, of hier zwoeg ze. Ze me gerne naast. Je moet een Nederlandse man, een wachtgeladen in Shaman. We didn't have electricity. We didn't have family allowance. We didn't have, what do you call that, social assistance. We had trap lines. En en ze nacht, zo werd ik. Niet wel een week, tip op het uit. Zijn dik gegaan, 5 cent, maar het uit zijn dik. Het uit. Lag schanist, met goud is. Goeie. Want marmer soort ik. Goeie. In het huis, daar verwaarde ik oor. Jecht is goeie. Probeer ze niet het soms te moeten leren. Zie ja, dus goed. Deze dame moet zingen als ze moet leren. Het is gedaan dit was ze met die geslaagd. Niks. Dan gooi je hem door daar schade. Wat hij wil. Het is smalig. Dit wordt de school of hard knocks. Dat is heel goed. Het geschouwspeleid, zeg je. Terwijl het nog voor gelach was de woord, gewacht op koers. Wat ga je met soortjes? Terwijl zit nog je glimste. Net die dame zijn niet zo moeilijk zo laag zit. I was 7 years old in 1959. On the act sorted in the Head Start nursery and beginners. En dat kon ze ook willen doen, willen laten zijn. En willen laten, hij ook komen ze zo. Salam alaikum. Dat kon ze ook goed.
Thank you. Yeah, I think that the main thing I took from there is that squirrel hides were 5 cents back in the day. Now maybe $5, eh? Maybe. I think that's a very good segue into the next question. And I think we can all have fun answering this one, because we've all been to feasts, and we've been to feasts for quite a while now. But the question is there a difference between back in your day compared to today within the feast hall? What's one of the things that pops in your mind about the main differences? Maybe we'll start with Larry, and yeah, the main difference from back in the day to today.
Yeah, I noticed a lot of difference from back in the day. Like today, there's a lot of young people that move up way too early before they got trained, because a lot of our elders were passing away. And some of the new chiefs I noticed, they didn't follow the protocol. One thing is that they didn't know how to do the highlighting hits. Some of them try to learn, some of them just ignore the highlighting hits. That's part of our AO in the community. And the other AO they didn't follow is, You always do the Oknadan at the feast if you do the Leiden hits. Because Oknadan is part of the Leibigit. So when you don't do the Leiden hits, you don't do the Oknadan. I've seen some of the new chiefs. They don't try to follow our yo, and some of them try to learn. And another thing I noticed was when my uncle Matthias passed away. He passed away in his house. And all they did was wrap him up in his blanket and they laid him on the dining room table. He was laid there for 3 days, and within the 3 days, all the syndicate would come to his house, sing the living God, and then they'd get fed, and then they'd leave, whilst more syndicates were coming in. So this went on for 3 days. A lot of syndicates would come do their living God at my uncle's house. And that's the only thing I've noticed that's different now. Nowadays we have the chiefs farewell and bring the remains into the hall. That's when the syndicates do their living God. So that's one thing I noticed about back in the day and today. Thank you.
Thank you. Any additions to that, things that you've noticed that aren't happening today that was going on back in your day in the feast hall? Any big differences that you can see?
I just want to touch a little bit on what Larry said on the chief's farewell and the Kuchmawamithai. You know, when you do the chief's farewell, when you're saying goodbye to the chief, is that you as the guy that's doing the farewell, you really go and stuff like that. You don't turn around to the public and say, that comes at the end of the program when the people the clan that's gonna bury their dead, they're the ones that say, thank you, Syndicate, all of you that are here. We don't say it when we're participating, we don't say Syndicate Sigilmana. That is left to the host to do that. I see a lot of it happening like it's a memorial. Sometimes it's a memorial, they talk on how they grew up together, that they walked together. That's not a chief's farewell, that's a memorial. That's happening at the memorial when they go to the memorial. And a lot of that is happening nowadays, and it takes up a lot of time before they go out there smoke after the welcome. This is one to add that little piece on, well, we don't say Syndicate Sigilmana on chief's farewell. It's up to the host. Thank you.
Thank you for that. That's one of the touches on the question we had a couple of episodes ago. The importance of doing things a certain way, the timing of doing certain things, and when not to do them is shows a lot of respect to the ones that are really knowledgeable and understand that, right? It's yeah, that has to be understood. The timing of all that. I think there's somebody on.
There's a comment in the chat. Margot Vandenberg commented, the sport is gone. Compared to these people supporting one another. Chiefs showing up to support. My Aunt Rena, my mom used to be at every feast, it's gone. We have a Glenn who has his hand up.
Thank you, Margot. Glenn?
One of the things I really noticed is the amount of English that's spoken at the feast. I really see about probably over 90% of our feasts are all in English. You know, it's so convenient. And some of the things that I remember late St. Robert Good used to always say, and it happens quite well in our area, and I think it's important to remember, when you do that nachnoch and nila flatlands, it's really an important ceremony to us. But I was attending a feast a couple of times in the East, and seeing people laugh, laughing about, and it's really important that we have discipline when those things happen. It may be funny, but those are very important to have control and discipline, that as an interact together, that there's no laughter, and it's really serious. It's about approval of one another and the interaction of not here to another book as they go around. I was really quite offended when I seen that happen, and yeah, so those are things that I noticed. And I think the naming, that people walk around to different tables that have a stick and go to different tables and somebody call back. I've never really seen that before. It's really about your own book selects that do the christening, no matter how big the chief is. You may have one or two other chiefs, but you don't do that. You go around the whole feast hall and bang bang, and I never really seen it. And I think it's something that we need to think about, and it's changing, and we should take hold of that and really begin to really think about it. Thanks.
Thank you.
What I remember, there are people out there that don't want to do any feasts anymore. Because that person says, oh, I don't want no memorial, no smoke feast, nothing. That person is in a house with a big chief named house, and yet this is what my brother or my sister wants, doesn't want to do anything. Yet that person might have a name, and yet they abide by what he or she says, or not doing anything with the feasting system. And another one is when a child dies, that child is in a big house. That child has a chief and a matriarch, and they don't do anything for that child. They don't do any living boy or a send off, a small little baby or a teenager. Another thing I've seen is in the feast of memorial, nobody wants to go because I don't know you. I'm not gonna go. That's how some people act nowadays. I don't want to think because I don't know that person. Because he lives outside our village or lives in the next village. You know, I hate to say it, but it's the truth. That's why you hardly see anybody in the memorial. Maybe only 20. The rest stay away because I don't know that person. Oh, I hate that person. That's gotta stop. Every child matters, they say nowadays. I was watching this when a person dies, hardly anybody shows up to anything. But once the feast starts, they're just like ants. Because of the food, the money, the gifts they get in the feast hall. Once they get all that stuff, once the week stops going around, everybody packs up and walks out. That's why I was saying earlier, the door is closed, nobody's allowed to go out. I need to teach and say something in the feast hall about little children. They have to have a respect for the mother and the father that lost the child. They don't use a hall now, they use a little mini feast now. They use a church. You put up a little mini feast and just pay the workers and that's it. No memorial, nothing, no smoke feast. We gotta stop doing this. We gotta show our next generation the proper protocol when a death comes in our family. I sat and cried when some of the people said, "Oh, my sister or brother don't want to do any feast or memorial or smoke feast." It's disappointing, but we need to put a stop to this. In order for us to teach our next generation of our protocol, there's quite a lot that's happening in the feast hall that are disrespectful. Some of it shares that there's laughter, there's a lot of talking, a lot of movement. I've been watching that. I try to holler out and say, quiet. I would bang my table and you see somebody talking or laughing, hit the table and look at it, you know. And, as you guys all know, there's a lot of drugs going out in spirits. And you see some of the teenagers come in just to get money for their drugs. And they sell their food, what they get on the table. And, that's hurtful. But, we have a lot to teach the generations coming up. A lot. This is just a start. And I'm very glad to be part of it. And I wanna go from village to village to help young guys to, you know, show them what our protocol is in peace. From day one when somebody dies, day one until they're finished. Headstone and fence. It's a long process. When a headstone comes in, we have to wait for a year to let the family mourn for 1 year. Once that's up, headstone's on the grave, and the family can carry on. I think that's what I got. I hope everybody will understand.
Thank you very much.
Psalms kan nahagen. Psalms. Goede schatten worden er je moet leren. Je zag van de moesten respect. De worden dulben niet doen zijn goed. In het nadem oorlog. Ze zijn niet kilometer vertoond om de laatste brief. Zijn daar wil naar rechts moet blijven. Naar die schrift zo wordt het de visitors table gegaan. Best is sound. His newspaper gegaan. Een radio. Back to back anyone. Someone completely good. Once you get for and that it has once. Some it's all. Will it assess. En Gwelx gaar wil hij want wil hij de steeds voor zum ontwikkeling. Naar het Natchez Airport, Kausel zum ontwikkeling. En dit goed wat hij smal gedaan zei. Zeg joh, ze houden zich net maar ik heb net na dan niet. Gezegd gewoon en zum ontwikkeling. No more respect, no more care to the speakers of the clan that's hosting the feast. Kids running around. Oh, the kids are okay. Even though they're fooling around, they're still listening. There's lots that are hard of hearing, couldn't hear what the host is saying. Hard of hearing. I've reached that stage in my life where it's hard to hear. My hearing aid are good for nothing, just as bad as my bad hearing. But children, too many children in the feast hall. When mom and dad would go to the feast hall, they would find a babysitter to look after us before we were big enough. Babysitter, or the oldest of the family members would look after us. That's the difference today in the feast hall. Babies are screaming around in the feast hall when they shouldn't be. Not allowed to go in there. If we ever go back to the olden days style, you will see a lot of difference. You will see a lot of respectful people that's coming out to the feast hall. Go ahead.
Thank you. Yeah, a lot of important things in there. Respect is one of them. I do admittedly see that. It seems like a lot of the youth that showed up back in the day had that level of respect before they got there. They weren't there to learn that respect. They already had it, and that's, yeah, I've been hearing that in the last couple of panels. Karen has got additions.
I just, I was listening to Calvin's comment about the kids. I never went to a feast until I was way older. And I don't even recall kids running around in a feast hall at that time. It was always so quiet when people are talking, the host is talking, and we can hear what they're saying. And now that the parents think they're doing the kids good when they're bringing them to the feast hall to learn, but before I leave my house, if one of my grandkids go to the feast, I'll go with you, Gigi, they said. I said, you know that if you come with me, I said, you sit down, you don't move until the feast is over. And no running around, you can't, the only time you'll get up is if you want to go to the bathroom. I said, but that's it. They said, you're not allowed to run around. And when we did get to the feast, they're sitting down, and they asked me if they can go see those other kids. I said, no. Kids that are running around, and she said, the kid would say to me, well, why are those kids running around? I said, because I don't know where their parents are. They're not supposed to run around. It's too noisy. I said, people are talking, we can't hear. That is the difference for the new generation is the parents, I think, need to teach their kids at home. And if they want to bring the kids, then they have to be quiet and sitting down where they could learn. And I keep thinking of Mom and Dad when a person dies, and they wouldn't even let us near the coffin either. You know, if the coffin is open, then older people go up there to see and pay their respect, but as little kids we weren't allowed to. We were not even allowed to go and see the dead until probably around 12, 13-year-old. Not babies or little kids, we weren't allowed to do that. We can't even go to their house either when it's just wasn't allowed in our days that we go out and they tell us to stay in the house, and right at dusk we're not allowed to do anything. When they tell us we have to be quiet all the time, it says Lulach gonna come and take you, and that's the dead's gonna come and take you too. You're not supposed to fool around and carry on like there's nothing happening in the village. That's what I see today. Even little kids, if they open a coffin, the parents bring the kids up to the coffin to see. And I don't know if there's other comments on that one, but that's what I remember as I was growing up. I didn't go to a feast until I was older, and then even now, I still learn from other people on protocols and stuff like that, because sometimes I'm not in the village, like we live away from home and then move back, and wherever there's work, then we're not here, and but I'm really happy to be here anyways, and I don't know if other people have comments.
Thank you. Yeah, the youth and the feasts, I was gonna touch on that. To me, it has something to do with the Greek switching from pelts and stuff from the land to money. Sometimes that's really important for families to all show up and collect as much wheat as you can. Maybe they need it a bit more, I'm not sure, but I think there's a fine line there somewhere we need to find. Calvin?
Så der er meget lidt i går. When the needed hard to the stomach like now and Sabiet swinded or Nalga. So what was banned. Sabiet the cost. There's this little gate week. The massacred name was some will chip. She's let del hold Nalga, yeah, Kayukin for the Maxup cup and set up. She's let del hold Nalga. Nee, joh. En we zagen hem dus until 5 o'clock, yeah. Only at 7:30, was it down, and it is 8:55. And it will actually keep each time. But anyways, back in those days, when we were growing up in Gizigukla, when the band Chiefin Council started, we had a little tin can. Walk around the village, John, how was your name, John? That means it's time for the people to come out to the community hall and listen to a meeting that's happening. Katie Russell was our best partner in Gizigukla when we were small. We didn't know the difference between high-ranking people and low-ranking people back then. We just worked together. I just thought I'd throw that in. Thank you.
Thank you. Love hearing those memories back in the day. It's just always happy or, doing something together. I think that was the main thing I hear all the time. I think we can move on to the next question. I'm gonna be, do you have an additional? Okay, sure.
One thing they don't do anymore is holler at the door. It's like, oh, fire going up. You know, and like cabins, like they used to use a trumpet to call the people in the villages. Plus they walk around from door to door. But nobody hollers at echo right outside the feast hall. They have the door open all the time. Once people stop coming, then they close it, nobody goes out.
So I think question number 3 is very similar to a few other ones. I'm not gonna skip it fully. I'm just gonna skip it for now, and we'll go back to it. So I'm gonna start with I'm gonna move on to question number 4, which is the definition of midil, and what does that mean when it comes to feast protocol? Midil. Who wants to tackle this one?
That's, if it was a frog that was hosting the feast, like in Pitigukla, there's only 2 clans, there's the Kiskas and the Ranada. And our Midil is the Kiskas. So when the feast starts, we feed them first. Our Midil, the soon we get at the table, they get fed first. And then the other feeders would feed the other tables that are in the lineup in the hall. But you always, in Kizigukla, you start with Gwelx, he sits in the middle. And then you work this side. Then you work this side at the back. You don't start at the end of the table, and by the time the pop gets to Gwelx, there's no more left. So it's very important that people know in Pitigukla it starts in the middle of the Samogit's table, and Gwelx sits there. It's called Maha. We get those by the week, Gwelx. And that's how you spread out the donate on that table. Then when they finish the back, where the Simgi Gedar, then they go to the front, exactly the same way. You start in the middle and you work out. So that everything is put out equally. Right now, I notice that visitors usually get more food than the Simgi get that are sitting at the table, because they're family. And they usually get more food than the Simgi get. I just quit. There was a problem in Kizigukla when the Bull Chief held a feast there, and I was at that feast, and I tried to correct it, but I was put down because it was a Lucky Bull feast. You have no right to talk. It's their feast, they're putting it up. When I was trying to get them to hit the Nidil first, their Nidil would have been the Canada of Gigneau when it's a wolf feast. The Canada would have had to been first in everything, even if the feast is in Kizigukla. The Canada have to be fed first. If the Gwelx goes out, it's got to be the Nidil that gets the Gwelx first. Not the Kizigukla Giskas that are sitting front and us that are sitting at the side. We were treated more better by that wolf clan than their Nidil. That's why I had a real struggle with it when after that feast I told my wife, if Kitchigukla would have feast in Gidneow, I will not go. Because that's not where their power is. Their power is in Kitchigukla. They could bury their dead, they could have memorial, everything in Gidneow. But the main thing is to get the feast into Kitchigukla if the Giskas are having it, or the Canada of Kitchigukla are having the feast in Gidneow. It should be held in Kitchigukla. The same way with Kitchigukla. They're gonna hold their feast in Kitchigukla. And the Chumsen, they'll hold it in Chumsen territory.
We got a long way to go.
I'm just teasing you.
So what's the actual English term for Nidil?
You
The
Nidil.
clan that you live with in the community.
Okay.
Needing nobody else. There's other clans in the community that does not belong in the community.
Thank you. Yeah, very informative. Thank you. Any additions to Nidil?
When we put up a feast and our deal is overlooked and connected, and if we make a mistake, they'll tell us we have to correct it. But if they make a mistake, we have to straighten them out
Hey,
and make sure they correct it, because that's what the deal's job is.
and they can't get offended.
That's pretty important.
Yeah.
Gary, do you have some additions, or do you have anything for that? No?
Only
How about
one,
Glenn?
Glenn? Any,
Not really, just my grandfather, I asked him, what does Needil mean? My grandfather loved. He said, Dil is your tongue. Tongue. Nadam aliyah. And he said, my Needil is Lachski, the Lachkigo, and didn't get as other people that can officially speak, or in our case in Guinea or Nigel is another Amahel and others. So this Gil is tongue. Oh, thanks.
thank you for that. That's really cool. I like that.
we also return thanks, and we always, when the feast's over, we always start with our needle. Whatever, if we ever host a feast in Kayuka, they're the first ones we return thanks. Nobody says that they look after us, and vice versa, we look after them. Make sure everything's going right. Once in a while you hear somebody, when you try to tell them you're doing this wrong, you get mad. Some. But not all. You hear it once in a while. They say, oh, we know what we're doing. This is ours. I ran into that quite a lot. And people from different clans come up to me, what are we gonna do? How are we gonna approach? Talk to that person that spoke back to the leader, straighten it out. Nobody everybody straightens it out, then it'll be cool. People will start talking out in the streets. Oh, did you see those two argue? Another thing. That's when the dealer comes in and, you know, the hierarchy comes up. It's important that you don't speak back to your dealer. Once said, that's it. You have to straighten it out. Have we done wrong? Because it happened to me so many times. I had to, you know, he always comes up to me and says, oh, you forgot about this. You're doing this wrong. You know, once we get together, we tells us, and then we start laughing, joking around after. And we straighten it out. You know, that's the most important thing is how you did. They're sitting down. They're our boss. They're the ones that see and watch us.
Guidance.
Their guidance.
Calvin?
The last of the Muskeg needed